this is it. The third test in our series comparing the McLaren P1, Ferrari LaFerrari and Porsche 918 Spyder. Last time at Santapod Raceway, the 918 was unbeatable over Before we start, we're fully charging each car's battery. This ensures their electric motors can provide maximum torque. This is done by driving a warm-up lap, which in turn builds heat into the tyres, ready for that all-important launch. Well, as you can see, the 918 rockets away from the line, applying every one of its 944 pound-feet of torque through its all-wheel hybrid drive system. That's 40% more torque than the other two. But despite this on-paper advantage, the P1 is actually gaining speed more quickly than the 918, once both cars climb towards the 150 mph barrier. By this time it reaches 146 mph, the 918 decouples its front electric motor to prevent overspeed, resulting in a significant loss of power, while a more aggressive aero in hot lap mode continues to add drag. So the P1 catches and passes the 918, while the Ferrari must accelerate to nearly 180 mph before it too can put the Porsche in its rearview mirror. Would the LaFerrari eventually haul in the P1? No.